Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, well,
Everybody.
it's a nice surprise and a privilege and a pleasure.
And thank you, Rachel, for coffee and everyone who's on, Nancy, Ricky, and Monique. So today we're going to be doing cards of the Magi and really looking at what each person's cards are, learning about the cards. And I guess we're doing it with three queens because
Lead three queens.
we three queens. We're both Queen of Hearts, and you're a Queen of Spades.
Yes.
And so we're kind of
Maybe there's more.
yeah, and who knows what we'll be curious to find out. Now, does
Could
anyone
we
know their
have a
card
little,
personal? Yeah,
would it be okay to do a little introduction to what these are?
absolutely, absolutely. But I was going to ask before we get started if anyone has heard of this system. That's for a segue, and if they know their cards. Really, if you've heard of it or if you know what your card is.
I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is. And I don't know my cards.
Okay, okay. Well, we're going to find out.
That's good to know.
Yeah, so I can give them an introduction as best I know is that this is an ancient system of what is really a deep mystical truths of really kind of going back to really ancient times, ancient Egypt. I mean, this is
Atlantean.
Yeah, if you want to go
If
there.
you want to go into
Yeah.
the mythology of imagination.
And then in the modern era, it was popularized by Oni Richmond in not popularized. It was the book was it was revealed, I should say. It was popularized more in the modern era by people like Robert Camp and some others in the field, I guess, drawing a lot from the early 1900s work like Your Days Are Numbered kind of things, and these old like Florence Campbell books.
I have those books.
Yeah, those are great. But then those were drawing from, and this was a book that Ray introduced me to, and so you introduced me to this book, which was the Mystic Textbook or Mystic Test Book.
Test book.
Well, that's the thing is, I didn't realize that the term textbook
actually.
Well, we call it a textbook nowadays. It's kind of weird to say a textbook.
Yes.
Right. And so a test book was actually the original name for textbooks.
I get it. I get it.
You study to take the test.
I get it.
So it was called the Mystic Test Book when it came out, and then later was reprinted as the Mystic Textbook.
Yeah.
That's kind of how the vernacular changed.
Fascinating.
And so that's 1873, Oni Richmond, Oni H. Richmond. And that's a and he was a let's see, was he either a three or a queen himself? He may have been a three of diamonds.
That's what I thought he was.
Yeah, I think he's a three of diamonds. But we have a queen of diamonds, Robert Camp, who wrote kind of some of the more popularized contemporary
and very good
here.
References.
Yeah, let me see if I can pin the
He's really the teacher of the system these days.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Robert Camp is kind of the oh, there we go. Okay. So yeah, so these are just the books, two of them. I also have the Love Cards book. I have a few others. I mean,
yeah,
these are kind of the classics, the modern classics. And then if you really want to get to the modern day origins, go to Oni H. Richmond Mystic Test Book, which is available for free. There's a really great website called IAPSOP, IAPSOP, basically, and it's a kind of it's a mouthful, but it's basically spiritualist pamphlets or spiritualist periodicals and pamphlets or something like that. And basically it's a digitized collection of 1800s spiritualist tracts. They had Oni Richmond's Mystic Test Book.
Really?
They digitized it because really that is one of these kind of classics of that era, I guess.
It really gives the math and the root of the system from a mystical understanding.
Yeah,
I thought. Really... and it taught me all the different ways that the different cards are ordained by the way that I forget what the term was, that they went through a quadration.
Right, the quadrations. It's a really it's a fantastic system. So the way that it works, I guess the first thing to realize is that we might assume that a deck of playing cards is just a very simple, mundane kind of thing, right? And I gotta tell Vaughn to stop being so loud in a minute. But I just, okay, he walked by. I couldn't quite catch it. He was like shouting between rooms over there. But he's a nine of clubs, so we can talk about that. We can talk about that card in a minute. I have plenty to say. Okay, yeah, she's gonna go tell him just to stop shouting down the hallways between the rooms. I'm a Queen of Hearts, and part of the Queen thing, I think, is a little bit of
sensitivity.
Yeah, exactly. The Queen of Hearts,
Queen of Hearts are the most sensitive card
yeah,
when it comes to etheric substances,
it's a double
herbal.
It's a very Neptunian card.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a good point about the sensitivity to
Wonderful medicine healers and alchemists that come from that tradition of being able to feel more than others feel or hear. Their senses are more activated many times.
Yeah.
And because of that, they have a microscopic viewpoint of a kind of truth that really is associated with the mastery of the vision, which is what Hearts is about. It's the vision. It's seeing the vision and being amplify the vision, and the Queen of Hearts is particularly great about that.
It's the beginning process. So what you'll find is, I guess, the way that I would teach the absolute beginner of what the system is first to realize playing cards seems like a totally mundane thing. Hidden within it are very secret, embedded mathematical properties that share properties with the year. So just as one quick example, 4 suits, 4 seasons, right? And then these 4 seasons also can be astrological seasons. They can be the 4 quarters that we study in human design, but you basically have this 4. Now within each one you have 13 cards. There are 3 court cards. Well, there's 3 months per season. There's 3 signs per quarter, things like that. So, but then you go a little bit further. You say, okay, let's give every card a value, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 13. Well, each one is a quarter, and then you end up with this extra card, the Joker, and the Joker has a numerical value of 1.25.
Oh,
interestingly, because they said it was the 5th fourth. And so this 5th fourth, this extra thing that's kind of like this extra asymmetrical thing, you add it to the deck. Now, what's beautiful is you have all these mathematical properties, and I barely scratched the surface of the actual properties of the deck. But just as one example, you add up every card in the deck, Ace of Hearts plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, all the way up to the 10. Then you have the Jack, which is 11, Queen is 12, King is 13, next Ace, and so on, 1, 2, 3. If you add them all up, you get 364. Add the Joker, and you have 365.25 days, the exact number of days in a year.
That's a great one.
Including the 0.25. So it's like these really incredibly precise, which is, of course, because we have a leap year, because the actual cycle is 365 and a quarter days. That those quarters add up to the leap year. Now, it's really, it's a really incredible thing when you can break down some of the mathematical structures of the cards, and then you basically learn it as a story that you see time and time and time again. It's an archetypal story. It's the story of the seasons. It's the story of so many things. When I first met you, Ray described it as really the story of the movement towards synthesis. And it was really an answer to a great alchemical riddle. There's a fantastic alchemical riddle, which is that from the 1 comes 2, from the 2 comes 3, from 3 comes 1 as the 4th. And so this riddle is really a little bit confusing. I mean, do you know this one? Have you heard it?
I think a little bit. I heard it maybe differently. Go ahead.
Well, okay, yeah, it's from Mary the Jewess, also known as Maria Prophetessa, and it's known as the axiom of Maria Prophetessa to the alchemists. And this axiom was a great mystery to them. Now, it was made great use of by Carl Jung, because from the 1 comes 2, 2 comes 3, out of 3 comes 1 as the 4th. This was all studied from him as basically saying the 1 is the Negredo, the psychological darkening experience and dark night of the soul. From the 2 comes the clarity, which is the albedo, the albino, the kind of whitening. And then out of this comes the rubedo, which is the reddening and the kind of lifeblood. And out of these 3 together comes the 4th. And he used it as an example of how you have these three different psychological processes, first having a crisis, then having an intellectual kind of formation reaction, and then ultimately having some kind of resolution, almost like a Hegel kind of thesis, antithesis, synthesis. He put those also saying that what the real problem was that people had the missing fourth, was that they weren't able to put those three processes together into a unifying fourth. And he said that the disregarded fourth was echoed throughout Western culture because it was basically overly one-sided towards getting your desires met, towards the material against the spiritual, towards the like utilitarian versus the aesthetic, towards, and so on. All of these one-sided attitudes.
Well, every family's got their problems, just like the family of numbers.
Exactly. And the family itself is the Oedipal three, and its problem is how does it get to the four? And so for Jung, he said there's three cognitive functions that can be in consciousness. How do you get to the fourth cognitive function? There's three, there's all these threes, but I have a hard time being four. He even saw it, and in fact, von Franz wrote extensively about this. And she was maybe the first one to observe it. She was his star student. She noticed that there was it's basically the inclusion of the fourth in the Catholic Church, where they had the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, and the only fourth up until 1962 or so was the devil, or Mary, who's kind of this other. So there was this conflation between the anima figure of Mary and the devil figure of the shadow. And in 1962-ish, somewhere in there, there was there was basically I don't know the term for it, but it's an enunciation of basically, it's an assumption. They call it the Assumptio di Maria. And the Assumptio was basically saying, let's include Maria as on equal standing. So let's say that the Virgin Mary actually is this fourth equally important figure, along with God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Ghost. And that was a really interesting
movement. Well, what card do you think Mother Mary was?
Well, she had to have been some. Well, okay, that's a good question. Is she? That's kind of a Queen of Hearts theme. However, in this sense, also I would say the Queen of Spades, because the spades are also symbolic of the synthesis.
Yeah,
and she is the fourth. But yeah, starting with just the four. So, how would you introduce the four suits? I mean, how do you describe the four suits?
Well, there's lots of ways. The simplest way that I've discovered is to think of vision, which is hearts, and the opportunity to have a passion to see something that hasn't been there before, and then manifest that in whatever talent you have. But it's using vision as the stimulation. Okay. And then there's air, which is clubs. Excuse me, let me do earth first, which is pentacles. So you got hearts, and then you got pentacles, which are the red ones, along with the hearts, and that one's diamonds, and that's earth. And that's the development of a value system. By what are your principles that you're creating something? And you could take it into moralistic if you want to talk about societal, but if you would just want to talk about your own personal scenario, then you just take it into what sort of personal value system do you build your life on? And the diamonds really help create it as well as identify it. And then clubs, and spades, which are the black ones. Clubs is symbolic of swords, which is thought, which is inspiration, which is putting a form around the idea, and allowing it to manifest, which is spades through service or through water. Spades are water. So it's helping to manifest the flow of the previous three, which is vision, thought, values, and service.
Beautifully said. Yeah, and those are the three. So out of the one vision comes the two, and so on. And the real trick for me also was realizing that when you look at the elements, there was something really profound. And this was when I first met you, we were talking a lot about this. It was just so profound. It's not every day you meet somebody and you have just an immediate conversation that you're just enjoying, talking about really interesting topics like alchemical things. But what Ray had said about synthesis was this interesting idea, was that because that is something the alchemists talked a lot about. They talked about what is the synthesis of the elements and how do we make a synthesis and what is this union of opposites and so on. And the way that you described it, really, to me anyway, with the suits at that time, was that the hearts are fire. So it's very elemental, beginning with the fiery heart. I thought that was very profound.
Yeah.
The flaming heart. Then you have the clubs, which are, I guess we could even say fire, heart, are springtime. Then you have clubs, which are summertime. And that is actually words. And in our system, it's kind of like going from springtime, quarter of initiation. There's the vision you talk about of the heart, of the springtime, initiation of vision of something that could happen. Then you go into the quarter of civilization, which is the second quarter that we study. And that's the busiest time of year. And that's summertime, really, or it leads up to summertime, to that peak of summer. And that's all Gemini, throat gates, and, and all these throat gates on either side of Gemini. And so
May through August.
It's really interesting to see so much of a time of year is all about talking, right?
It's social.
Yeah, it's a very social thing.
Yeah.
And so we have the clubs, which are the swords and the tarot. And this is really understanding, things intellectually. This is an intellectual thing. And then we move on to the diamonds, and that's very physical. I would almost say the hearts are kind of the emotional, but they're also just ego, but they're the hot, they're the warm side of the body graph. So in a way, it's the ego and the solar plexus. And then we move on to the clubs, is like the ajna. Then we get to what's almost splenic about the diamonds, although the diamonds also are very G center. I mean, there's like G center values different than splenic. But there is a splenic value system thing that needs to be imposed, and it is very physical. And diamond people are earth, and earth is very physical and grounded. And so we do have this movement. So it's kind of like using the axiom of Maria Prophetissa, out of the fire, the one, fire comes two, the wind, out of the wind comes the three, which is the earth. Then out of the three comes one as the fourth. That means out of the first three, take the first three together, put them all together, and what do you have? Water, the supreme symbol, the symbol of Taoism, the symbol of the design principle, the symbol of synthesis, because water contains all three of the ones that come before it.
And that's like spades contains
like
all
spades.
three of the hearts, clubs, and diamonds.
Right, because water even has three states. It has the solid earthen ice. It has the liquid, mutable, flammable kind of liquid form of water. It has the gaseous air form. And so it's really interesting. Not flammable, of course, but just it's similar to fire, how it's like it can move. It's interesting to think that fire is actually a liquidy kind of movement. You see it, plasma type thing. So it's really, to me, that's one of the most profound parts of studying the cards, are the deep understanding of the relationship of the suits. And then you start to understand that, okay, they all relate to the signs. And when you get to water, that symbolizes mastery.
Or service.
But it pays the price. It's service as well. It's service.
Yeah.
But
it expresses the first three by serving.
And there's a trade-off. The trade-off is, in exchange for the service, you get the mastery, or in exchange for the mastery, you have to serve. Basically, it has to be a service, but it also traditionally has been seen as, relating to an intimate understanding of health and disease, and death
question,
and loss, and also
no question. That's always in there, because you got to get past grief, and you got to, as a spade to serve, you got to get past resentment. You got to move into a more positive understanding of yourself.
Well, it's so much work. It's so much work. And what's funny is we're growing towards the hardest working card in the deck. So there's just one other thing I want to say as an introduction to the cards, which is that when Ra asked the voice during his encounter, he didn't ask it much, but there were a couple systems he was not able to incorporate in human design. One was the runes, which he understood was a valid system, but he was not able to put it in.
Yeah.
And the other he asked about was the tarot, which is part of these cards in the Magi. That's the minor arcana.
Yeah.
The major arcana are from what are called the Chaldean tablets, and that's
And the
a
Kabbalah.
study. Yeah, exactly. But
Excuse me just a second.
exactly. But the minor arcana, we really have. So, okay, I can continue for just a moment describing, and I'll just see you in a moment when you come back. So,
Yeah.
so thank you, Ray,
Yeah.
for joining. So,
Can I just
one of
Can
the
I ask? Can I ask? a
please,
question?
yeah.
So, like, from what I've been studying, the suits match up differently in the tarot. You know, like for the elements.
Okay. Right. Are the hearts like cups, for instance?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
The
think
hearts
that's
are cups. Yeah, that's the hearts. The only one that's consistent are the pentacles as diamonds.
Oh, I see. And then the clubs are wands, and the
The
swords
exactly. The clubs are
are
fire,
spades. Yeah,
and the spades
I've seen that
are.
as well. Swords are spades or swords. Because a spade looks kind of like a sword, and I've
Spades are
seen that too.
swords. Yes, spades are air. Clubs are fire.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So spades
Yeah.
would be swords then, and so then if clubs are, yeah, and if clubs are fire, that could be well, that's its own right. That it's just, I mean, these are just, it's interesting because, and for our purposes, it's not going to be a problem because we're not really translating between them. But you can see how there's a different way of interpreting them. I mean, there's different elemental associations. I would say most people say swords are air because S words is actually kind of one of the jokes they would say. It's all about words, and it can be, I've always heard that, like cutting words, cutting remarks, and so I think for swords to be about air in the tarot, I mean, it's the same thing here. It's just an interesting association of saying the clubs are then about air compared to clubs being about fire in your case, right? So because wands. So I mean, yeah, it's a little bit. It gets a little bit tricky, only when you're trying to convert. But as long as you're, I mean, that's not really a problem because as long as we're talking about like what your actual Earth card is, there's no real question because we're not using the tarot anyway. We're just going to keep it. We're going to keep it to the card suits. But yeah, that is, I absolutely acknowledge that. I've heard that.
Yeah, just from an archetypal perspective for
I've heard
something,
that, yeah.
it's just it's weird that the like four things could be, you know,
Mixed up. Well, the only thing I'll say about
on
that is there's so many different versions of things, and that's something that, so when Ra did ask about the tarot, what he was told was that it had to do with sequencing, and that these sequences were really used for incarnation. I mean, it was an incarnational sequence. One of the interesting things when you study the cards, you find these mathematical properties that are really incredible, and the mathematical relationships are really incredible, and the way you basically get these sequences, and it's so amazing because when Ra was explaining in the Rave cosmology materials about what he heard from the voice, he basically was saying, it said that there were these tablets of sequences, but that the sequences weren't really understood anymore. And what's funny is you can get to the sequences by doing quadrations on the deck of cards.
Yes, there you go.
And you get these amazing sequences that are really mathematically interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very difficult to interpret them, but people still do. So I think,
Yeah.
not that the voice was wrong, but just that, yeah, it's been like lost.
Well, there's
art.
there's not a lot
Yeah.
of people that really go to that level and degree.
But to just talk about what those sequences are and how the quadrations work for a
Yeah.
moment, and then let's jump it right into what some people's cards are. And I'll just kind of give a little preamble there. So the sequences and the quadrations, what it is you basically have this deck of cards. You set aside the Joker for the purposes of this exercise. So you have the perfect spread. The perfect spread is ace of hearts, 2 of hearts, 3 of hearts, 4 of hearts, and so on.
Each student sequence.
Yeah, and it's each student sequence, and it's like spring, summer, fall, winter. It goes hearts, clubs, diamonds, spades. And they're all in sequence, and they all go ace to king, and then ace to king, ace to king, ace to king. Now, from this perfect, like heavenly order, which actually kind of reminds me of in China, they have the distinction between the heavenly and the earthly order, which they call the fixed and the changing order.
Yeah.
And it is like that. It's like there's this, we call them the spiritual spread and the life spread, or the mundane spread. And these are the two fundamental spreads. what you do is you take the spiritual spread, which is the perfect order, ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, down the line. And you count out 1, 2, 3, 4, and you put them, or I think you actually do 1, 2, 3, put it in a pile, 1, 2, 3, a pile, 1, 2, 3, pile, 1, 2, 3, pile. Do it again,
Yeah.
and you keep putting them in piles of 4, these 4 piles. And then you, at the very end, you'll have 4 cards left. You just go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you put them back in the right order. You do the quadration again. Once you've done it twice, you lay the cards out and you'll see that the order they're in, the new spread is basically this very complex spread that looks kind of arbitrary and kind of very complex. What happens is that is your mundane spread, and that is your first quadration.
Yeah.
And that represents your birth spread and also the spread that you'll have basically the age of 45 and the age of 90. And for interesting mathematical reasons.
Yeah.
What happens is that spread is characteristics and qualities you will have your entire life. But then you turn 1 year old, you have a 1 year old birth spread. And you turn 2, because you do one more
And each one's a
quadration.
quadration.
And you keep doing it. And what happens is you have all these different sequences and spreads of cards. And by the time you get to the 89th spread, it comes back around. And it's once again ace of hearts, 2 of hearts, 3 of hearts, 4 of hearts, all the way down the line.
That's the beauty of a number
the king
system.
of spades.
Yeah, that's the beauty of a number system based on 52.
It's incredibly cool
Yeah.
because it's this incredible system that by the time you get through it, what it's showing you, to compare the spreads, it's you get the same beauty of looking at the Rave mandala and really digging into some of the intricacies of its math.
Exactly.
Because what you find is there are 45 cards that change. There are cards that switch positions back and forth, and then there are cards that never change positions.
Yeah.
So you have the 4 semi-fixed, you have the 3 fixed cards, you have the 7 cards.
Yeah.
Then you have the 45 cards that go through this beautiful movement where every card turns into the next card in an incarnational, in some sense, sequence.
And then there's a link to that quadration system of year by year to a planetary grid that gives you a connection to the energy of that particular planetary expression through that card in that grid in that position, and the energy that's coming from that position.
Which is also how you can say, I am, for instance, and we are both Queens of Hearts. So we are, as Queen of Hearts, in the Neptune position.
Yes.
And so we're double Neptune, as you like to put it.
And that means you're receiving Neptune.
Yeah.
Through and expressing it through
and we're
Neptune.
transmitting through Neptune.
Yes.
Right. So there's this vertical that we're receiving from, just like how the body graph is kind of wired to point up into space. We're receiving this neutrino stream through the top of our head.
And
well basically, when you look at the spread, the vertical is the planetary archetypal energy coming in. So it could be Mercury coming in, coming out as Neptune, or Neptune coming in, coming out as Mercury, or any other combination.
Well, I'm Uranus coming in, expressing as Mercury.
Right. And then you have that special relationship to 3 of diamonds. We have Casey on right now.
Casey's on, yeah.
And so she's the opposite.
Yeah.
She's the Mercury coming in expressing as Uranus.
Yes.
So she's the amplifier from the.
Yeah.
Can we turn off whatever that sound is? Do we know what that sound?
I think it's Ray.
Oh, it's Ray. Oh, don't worry about it.
What
it's okay. It's just a little. It's just your whistle. No, it's funny. It'll remind. It always. It's no big deal. So okay. Because he needs those. Hey, she's waving. Yeah, I see the wave.
Hi, Casey.
Feel free to jump on mic, anyone. So I think we're ready to start looking.
Hi, Ray.
Wonderful.
Love you.
I love you. I love you too, Rachel and Jonah.
This is Ray's property. He just made a cool flyer showing basically all the different trees that are planted for shade. And it's kind of
Oh, I can't wait to see it again. I miss you guys.
Yeah. Well, we miss you.
Time's right.
Soon.
Soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think let's start looking at people's cards, and I guess here's the one last point I'll say when we're interpreting the cards. So the first way to interpret the cards, sort of naive way to interpret the cards, and then there's more complex. I'll just give a little preamble. The naive way is you take the number and the suit, and because to really do it the real way, we have to look at where it is on this grid from the quadrations. And you can look that up online. If you look up Cards of Destiny, it'll tell you what the spread is. If you get any Card of Destiny book, it will show you the spread. You'll actually get, copies of the spreads and so on. to look at. So I guess this one doesn't have it handy, but it should be just convenient in these. But anyway, so what happens is the first way is you just say, okay, I understand hearts. I know certain qualities about hearts. Hearts are usually people, and love people, and all these qualities of the passion and so on. So then you understand, like, okay, two of hearts, that's a real partnership thing. Like you start to understand two, the quality of two. What is two-ness? It's sort of you approach the numerological approach. Then you say, oh, well, four of hearts, that's called the marriage card. Well, that makes sense. Four is very stable. Four is a foundation. Four is building a family. All of these foundational things. So you can kind of start to do this, I guess we could even call it folk approach of using your own knowledge of the numbers, and then using the element or suit in whatever correlations. But then to get to the next level, you look at where it is on the life spread and the spiritual spread.
That's part of it.
Yeah. And that,
However, let me introduce one more thing.
Please, I'd love to. I'd love for you to.
And that is that as you're learning the card, which one you are, you're learning who else is what card. And then you apply the folk level or the classical interpretation in comparison to the experience that you have observing them.
Yeah.
And you begin to know four of diamonds, for instance, and you observe, even though they're four individual people, there'll be that common subtlety of a similarity that they all share.
Yeah.
And so the thing that elevates you past the folk level or traditional left brain level is having an experience with each card within your life, so that you can begin to interpret that experience and help refine your own vision as to how the energies are working.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And you start to look at, I mean, it's really fascinating. I made a spreadsheet and being like, how many, you see these clusters, how many four of clubs do I have in my life? And they're such Saturnine people, and they have such a, but anyway, I have so many, you might have a lot of four of clubs too. It'd be interesting. We're Queen of Hearts
They're recalcitrant.
Yeah. But in any case, so there's different approaches, but then to really get into the cards, what you do is you look at the spread. And so if you look up, like if you just look on Google, love cards, life spread, or cards of destiny, life spread, or even cards of the Magi, that's what they're called. If you look in the Mystic Test book,
yes,
it has this spread. I mean, you can print it out. If you ever buy a book from Mr. Camp, from his website, he actually includes these little cards, little bookmarks with a spread on them, and you can put them in your wallet and things like that.
Everything he does is really helpful to
he's a reflector.
And it's a system that sooner or later you can begin to use the terms of its understanding to increase your observation of how and who you are in a way of energetic relation to somebody else. It becomes a way of, you can use the number 52 in this system to entrain to the mystic qualities that 52, 52 is really 7 numerologically.
Yeah.
And so you learn to that spiritual vision. It's a kind of a microscope that is really possible to enlarge and increase your periphery in your own experiences and energetically seeing who you are.
I've been really impressed. I mean, blown away even at some of my ability to guess, maybe even more easily than guessing if somebody has a defined center or what type they are, to actually guess someone's card. And it's kind of crazy how when Ra did ask the voice did say, oh yeah, no, there's these the card system, and it does have its sequences. And because Rob was so interested, he's like, well, we were using Kabbalah for the channels, and we're using the chakras for the centers, and we're using the I Ching. Where does the tarot fit? And well, that fits into incarnation sequencing. Now, one of the interesting things is, just as a side note before we go on, as Queens of Hearts, we are actually the very next step in the sequence from the 9 of Clubs, which is what Von Paul is, who I was just yelling at down the hall earlier in this. He's off camera, but he's a 9 of Clubs, and so what it means to be the next step in the sequence is you get their best qualities for free, kind of having mastered that in the previous life, and they are learning in this life how to have those qualities of you. Then there's someone else you're learning how to be. And so I think it's really fun being a Queen of Hearts. It's a great card to be. I recommend it to everyone.
Now, what's your other
You
karma?
all get to experience
What's your other karma
10
card?
of spades.
10 of
Now,
spades
and I have a
and-
little comment about that. Yeah, I think you have a comment as well, but I have a.
Oh, you bought 10 of spades?
Well, my comment is this. So being a Queen of Hearts, you get a lot of advantages. You look at where it is on the board, basically all of its personal planets kind of counting out on the spread are in the crown line, which is the Sun Jupiter line, which is really like primo, like great, like preferential treatment.
It's the sun line.
Queen of Hearts are kind of like privileged, very cool cards to be, naturally lazy. Now, what they're growing towards.
Well, that's because they're in dream state most of the time.
Exactly. But what they're growing towards with the 10 of spades, tens are hard work and spades are hard work.
Yeah.
And tens mean a lot and spades mean a lot of
Yeah,
work.
and your
it's a lot
karma
of work,
cards
it's a lot of
really serve
service.
you well.
Well, right. And we kind of serve, it's like we are being served by the nine of clubs, which is we are naturally very smart.
Mhm.
Nine of clubs are wickedly smart people.
Yeah.
And they work to be really smart, and we get that for free. So it's like every card has one card supporting it, the card behind it in that sequence. And then all those people in their life will literally support them and be people. But the exchange is they're learning how to be more like us. So Von Paul is very supportive of me as Nine of Clubs, but he's learning to be more like me. Now, it's not always an easy exchange. If I had a 10 of spades in my life, that's not the easiest exchange
Yeah.
for them to learn to be more, for me to be more like them.
Yeah.
But in any case, let's start getting into people's cards. So
Yeah.
who wants to go first, please? Anyone? Or we'll just start going down the list. So if anyone volunteers, okay. Casey is a 3 of diamonds. We know that, Casey. And also a Leo, so no secondary card. So just a straight up 3 diamonds.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
being someone who already has some familiarity with the system, do you want to just share any of your comments, Casey, and let you know, or do you want to just hear what Ray has?
I mean, we're obviously the Leo version of the 3 of diamonds is the best version of all 3 of diamonds.
Well, that actually is a bit of a truth because what I've watched is the Leos express their card's energy in the most composed and charismatic way. Leos just have a good ability to run the show.
It's very dignified. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
they are.
classically dignified.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
I would agree with you, Casey.
All right. Thank you very much.
that's all you got.
I'm the best. Thank you. Goodbye. Someone else. No.
And then if Liz, Monique, Nancy, and Ricky would like to post their.
Are you all there
we don't-
together?
We don't need the year. No, they're all in different places. But
Oh,
we don't need the year. We only need the month and the day. So if you just post the month and day, anyone who wants to anyway, or just tell us over audio. Okay, we have Liz. Okay. Oh, we got everybody. Perfect. Okay, we'll just go down the list. So we have Ricky first. So June 22nd is her birthday. And there's a little calculation that we can do, which is 34. It's 55 minus 34. 51.
Jack of Hearts.
21. No, really? Is it
11.
21?
Yeah.
It's 11. Yeah.
44 and 11.
Yeah. Oh, but isn't that okay.
You got 44 to
But
start
June,
with.
June 22nd is 34.
Oh, 34.
So,
So it's 8 of clubs.
yeah,
No,
because
no, no,
Von
no,
Paul
no.
is
Okay,
9
this
of
is
clubs
okay.
and he's the 21st.
Oh,
Von Paul's the 21st of June.
so it's 8 of clubs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so basically the mathematical way to calculate it is the month times 2. So in this case, we have June, which is 6 times 2 is 12. Then you add that together with the day, so the 22nd. So that gives us 34, right?
Yeah.
And then we take 55 and subtract 34 from 55.
Right. And it gives you 21.
21, yeah.
And so she's the 21st card in the deck.
Yes, exactly. So that's your what's called your solar value, and your solar value is 21. The Ace of Hearts has a solar value of 1, 2 of Hearts, a solar value of 2, 3 of Hearts, solar value of 3, all the way up to King of Hearts, solar value of 13, Ace of Clubs, solar value of 14, 2 of Clubs, and so on. So really, all you need to know is the King of Hearts is 13, King of Clubs is 26. Then you have 39 for the King of Diamonds, and finally the last card of the deck, 52.
Right, the king of spades.
Exactly. And so that's a real quick way that you could be like, oh, okay, 8 of clubs, 13 plus 8 is 21.
Yeah.
The solar value.
And
because
now
we
you're
know that
beginning how to use the number system of 52.
exactly. That is the kind of base 52 system that this teaches you.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool. So, okay, so I can just tell a little bit, and I know of 8 of clubs, and then I will let the master speak.
Oh.
You absolutely are master. So all I will say is that I know about 8s, and this is not looking at the 8 of clubs and its placement on, this is kind of just my like naive folk take on it,
Yeah.
is that 8s are really the full reaping of the rewards and benefits, even the power of having done all that hard work in previous lives, that you kind of come back and full on reap the rewards mode, where you can kind of be a steamroller through life in different ways.
Well, number
As an
one,
8,
the 8
yeah.
of clubs is a fixed card.
Oh, okay.
So a fixed card is, there's 3 fixed cards in the deck. The 8 of clubs, the king of spades,
And the jack of
and the
hearts.
jack of
Yeah.
hearts.
And that means that it does not change its
On the
position.
grid, it never moves.
So yeah, so as you're doing these quadrations, which as I explained is a very complex thing. I mean, you're taking the deck of cards and you're going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You're putting them down in these piles, and then at the end you count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you kind of do it again. You do it twice for each quadration, and basically when you quadrate, or for each spread rather, when you do the spreads this way, you have 3 cards that never move, and they're always in the same position on the spread.
That's right.
It's
They're
really
always
tricky
the
because
same
everything
place.
else is moving all around it, but it's like this.
Well,
weird
there's
mathematical-
also 3 semi-fixed.
2 pairs, right? So 4 total.
I mean,
cards.
excuse me,
Yeah,
4 semi-fixed.
exactly. Yeah, 4 semi-fixed cards.
Yeah.
And those cards are taking turns being in this. So there's the 2
They
spots they
alternate.
occupy, but they never occupy anywhere else but these 2
But the important
places.
thing to know is
One.
that on the grid, which
Yeah.
is the planetary grid, which is the energetic position that those cards are ending up with through the quadration,
Yeah.
you have all the rest of the cards are moving through the whole grid, but the 8 of clubs, the jack of hearts, and the king of spades, they're like the solid poles that you're moving past
Okay.
to initiate yourself. And each fixed card has a particular important area on the grid. Like the king of
Yeah.
spades is what, Saturn, I think.
Well, it's in the king of spades is in the sun line, because basically instead of it's
on the
yeah,
sun
Saturn.
sun level, sun Saturn.
Yeah, because the sun line has Mars.
Yeah, the
Jupiter,
king of
Saturn.
spades is the healer of life.
Yeah, it's a really incredible, powerful
Yeah.
card.
Yeah.
That's
And
my
so the
favorite.
space
Yeah.
on the grid, which is the planetary energy, is how you get to derive the tangible tuning to planetary energies, to a more of an energetic state of living. As in human design, we're moving to a whole new energy expression through the physical body by developing 9 centers rather than 7. And that whole process is incubating and elevating in everybody's reality these days. And when you recognize it, you're on your way to a 9-center being of expression of crystal energy that is received from the planetary grid on the spread of the cards. So
Right.
that's the way I see it.
Well, yeah, there's definitely, I mean, it is a deep, I mean, when you start to look at some of the math and some of the incredible, the fact that each year of your life is dictated by a different spread,
Mhm.
and that your card, so myself as a queen of hearts, will be in a different position. So I get to occupy different places and go through all these different positions and see what it's like being, you never actually see what it's like being a king of spades because it never actually occupies that position.
Yeah.
But I get to occupy most of the positions, 45
Yeah.
possible positions. Meanwhile, other cards are occupying my own position and kind of supporting me. And then the fact that once you get familiar with these spreads, you get familiar with the planetary counting, where your position is the sun. On one side is the moon, on the other is Mercury. And if you keep going, you have
And the
Venus,
solar
Mars,
system.
Jupiter,
Yeah.
all the way up to Pluto, and what we call the Pluto result card and these kind of octave cards.
Yeah. You get a hand to play, and you get a new hand of 13 cards every year.
Yeah.
And that's your spread.
Exactly.
And some people use a 9-card spread. I happen to use a 13-card spread, so
No,
that
I've seen that. Yeah.
following 13 cards after my card on the position of the grid for that year, I can look in each position and understand the energies that I need to be very aware of at that particular period that year.
So I just want to read a few highlights in the Eight of Clubs here, and please comment if you have any clarifying ideas here. But the Eight of Clubs really, if it appears to you as a time in your life, like someone else having an Eight of Clubs, is focus and concentration and really achieving a lot of goals. Really, it sounds like goals achieved with the mind. Now, as a person, we could extrapolate. Here's somebody who will be very successful, who's a very strong mind. This is not like
well, they're an interesting energy. The Eight of Clubs, and everyone I know may have a little bit of an edge as interpreted by other people, but that's simply because they're the knower card. If you follow through with listening to what an Eight of Clubs has to say, they don't have to change because they're already right.
Sure.
And that is an aspect of the knower, which is in the what are they, the Neptune-Mars position on the grid? I'm not exact about that, but
so it's really just saying there's no real it's very rare to see any downsides for the Eight of Clubs at all. But the only possible thing is any negative karma that might arise from kind of trampling over people because you're so good at achieving your goals, just using mental determination.
They just get stubborn.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to get the Eight of Clubs to trust your heart as authentic, because they are the bullshit meters of the world.
Well, let's see what we have here for the Eight of Clubs. And I see this is showing
Also born on the vessel of love. It's interesting, a bullshit meter. I could see it.
Well, I know that
who's that? Liz?
It's Ricky.
Oh, Ricky.
This is Ricky.
Are you an Eight of Clubs?
She's the Eight of Clubs.
I am.
Oh,
yeah.
you're so you can call people on their stuff or just not move until they come to a better way of seeing things.
Well, it's just you can see each number, as the number goes up, it kind of achieves it ultimately, like each of the, I guess we could say it tells a story. Like the ace of clubs is like new beginning and very creative and artistic. And then two of clubs can be very collaborative. Three of clubs are very anxious, but also creative and so on. It kind of tells this evolution.
Eights are stable.
Fruition. Yeah.
Eights have an examination of the
mastery.
unknown and the unseen, and are incredible explorers that are so curious that they find out the answer to know what makes things work in the area that they're interested in.
It makes sense.
They're precise people.
Yeah, successful using their minds to achieve and things like that. And so, this doesn't exactly have. I was looking for this,
and they like other people to match their precision. And if you don't, you might get the cold shoulder for a second.
Yeah. Well, I know a number of eights. I actually have an eight ruling card. It's Eight of Diamonds, so it's a little bit different. But the eight is definitely very competent and capable. And actually, one of the difficulties of the nine is that the nine has all of the competency and capability of the eight. They have to learn not to use it. So the eight can come here and with their incredible mind, in the case of Eight of Clubs or Eight of Diamonds, having lots of money usually, or Eight of Hearts having tons of charm. Our friend Shaston is an Eight of Hearts, and everyone.
Well, because the Nine of Clubs in the graph is in the position of Venus, Saturn. They are here to develop more of an emotional body that experiences the refinement, Saturn, of the emotional body. And so an nine of clubs is really much expanding. They've got the mental taken care of, but they haven't really integrated into the emotional. And so nine of clubs go through a big level of emotional scurry through learning process of how to integrate their energy.
No, it's really fascinating to me when I looked at how it's like an Eight of Clubs, like a Nine of Clubs will actually have problems, Eight of Clubs won't, because the eights don't really have the problems, because the eight is about having achieved a certain level of mastery or success or dominance or power, or whatever you want to call it, that their life isn't about learning how, and obviously there's going to be different things that it is about. There's these karmic relationships. I was looking for the karma cards in here, but I wasn't able to find it in a quick reference. But all of this can be looked up online, and yeah, and then I see this is the spreads for every year of life, so that's pretty cool. But
And you say this is solar. So like, is there lunar? Is there, I mean, is there a card for every planet?
yeah, there's a moon card, and so basically, what you'll want to do if you're really interested in this is just look up. You can look up either cards of destiny or love cards. Those are two of the popular ones, or just Robert Camp. This is Cards of Spirits. This is one of them. There's a lot of books.
Here's an example of how the sun moon works. And that is there's a huge relationship between sun moon, and your moon card in the spread, on the mundane spread and the perfect spread, is the card behind you. And that's the card that gives you support. So when you have a moon card in your life, are we out?
No, we're still on.
Oh,
Yeah.
When you have a moon card in your life, that is a person that is very helpful and supportive to you. And you're the sun card, and you give the moon card a clear sense of direction. And so there's the light shining on the moon, and the moon card is the reflection, and the sun card is the source of the light. And so the one that is the sun card gives direction to the moon card, but the moon card gives support to the sun card that is really immediately experienced. It's such a strong magnetic attraction that the two energies have, that oftentimes marriages or sun moon relationships happens a lot, particularly if the moon card is the female and the sun card is the male.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of ones where that's opposite. And I think in either case, it might now, as gender roles are changing, be a little different.
There's a different interpretation now.
I can say of seeing some relationships that I've seen that's actually usually broken up around the 7 or 8 year mark, very successful long-term relationships, sun moon. But yeah, like in one case, my friend is an 8 of diamonds, and he's the moon card to the 9 of diamonds.
Mhm.
Now that's in the spirit spread. There's also a sun moon relationship in the life spread, but that sun moon relationship in the spirit spread is really like a deep.
It's a past life connection.
That's what I would say too.
It's an eternal level of energy that's between those two cards.
This spirit spread is the perfect spread. So this just goes ace 2, 3, 4. This is like the perfect spread you start with. And then the life spread is after the 2 quadrations I mentioned. And basically it looks random, but it's really profound.
If you learn what your moon card is and you look at the people in your life, I bet you out of 10 people, one of them will be your moon card.
Well, and so having an 8 of clubs, you're going to want to look for 7 of clubs and 9 of clubs, because those are going to be moon relationships in the spiritual spread. And then you're also going to want to look on the life spread here. And so you look for the 8 of clubs, which is in the Mars Neptune row. So this is vertical Neptune, receiving Neptune and expressing Mars. And that's in the life spread there. And being in that Neptune column,
the card prior to them is a 7 of hearts.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's what I was looking at. Yeah. Because of the order, the direction it goes. So the 7 of hearts is one moon relationship, and then you are the moon to and they are your Mercury.
And the 7 of clubs.
Oh, sorry, wait a minute. No, wait, no. Because aren't we going? We're going right to left.
Well, in the spiritual spread.
Oh yeah.
It's the 7 of clubs.
I see.
In the 7
of clubs, right.
In the main mundane, now 2 7s. That's interesting.
In the mundane spread, it's the Jack of Spades.
Oh, it is.
See, because it's going from right to left. Sorry, the screen. I'll make the screen a little bigger. So here's the 8 of clubs here. See, we have a Jack of Spades.
No, it's on the other. It's on the other side.
Oh, you're talking about.
This is 7 of hearts. You read it through the order. Go to the. Go to that way. It's the 7 of hearts. That's the card.
Well, right. It's going. The 7 of hearts does have a relationship to it, but it's 1, 2, 3. It's going right to left.
Yeah.
So it's going right to left. So 7 of hearts.
Yeah, and so it's the card before the 8 of clubs.
No, because once it goes back down, it goes to the King of Hearts.
No, it doesn't. It goes across. It goes across to the 8 of clubs. You read them backwards.
Okay. So instead of 10 of clubs, so how does it go from the Queen of Hearts then?
Where's the Queen of Hearts?
Right
There.
down here. Yeah.
The Queen is the
Yeah.
Queen of Spades is in a moon position.
Okay. So how do I go to what's the next card?
No, excuse me. The Six of Spades.
Yeah, 6 of spades.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then I go to the next card.
Yeah,
And then I go up here. His next card is 10
Yeah,
of clubs,
yeah.
8 of diamonds, king of
yeah.
spades. Next
So your
card.
moon card is the Six
And
of
then,
Spades.
and then 3 of hearts, though. It keeps going.
Yeah,
And it just keeps going like that.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
yeah. You're right.
So it's the Jack of spades.
I was
It's okay. It's okay. It's the
tranced out for a
it
second.
was so far away. No, the screen was really far away for us right now too. So the Jack of spades is your moon card, though. So you want to look
Yeah.
at the Jack of spades.
Yeah.
in your life. So, but okay, but what else can you say about 8 of clubs? I mean, that's definitely I guess because of its position, its Mercury is 6 of diamonds. There's a lot of fixed cards.
Yeah.
Mercury is 6 of diamonds, so you can basically count. To have a 6 of diamonds in your Mercury position, you can kind of interpret
Mhm.
as just this is one of the cards in your spread. This is something you have at your disposal. You're able to communicate well
Yeah,
with in a trustworthy way. Like 6 of diamonds are very good at their money. They're very good at.
Mhm.
I mean, it's karmic. I don't know. There's different ways of interpreting, but that Mercury 6 of diamonds, then Venus 4 of spades. Well, any 4 of spades people you meet, 4 of spades is one of the most stubborn cards in the whole deck. I
No,
will
they're
tell you.
called recalcitrant.
We're very recalcitrant. Johnny is a 4 of spades planetary ruler, but anyway,
But all fours are recalcitrant.
yeah. But
It's just in the area, you know.
but the 4 of spades in particular, they're like a double 4 somehow. I don't
Well,
know, but they have a,
give them a break, man.
yeah.
They are here to redo all the past life mistakes of staying in the same cycle,
Well, there you go. There you go. But,
and they're learning how.
and also it's lucky for them that they are the Venus card of 8 of clubs.
Yeah,
Because what that means is 8 of clubs people will be really attracted to them because they
Yeah.
will represent Venusian qualities, even though to other people they're just like very stubborn hard
Yeah.
workers or something.
yeah. It's very interesting the way the
Yeah.
matrix works as far as all the interrelationships. Remember when telephone calls came in on a switchboard? Oh,
Yeah.
you guys are younger. But there used to be an operator that would plug the cables in to connect your number from one house to another. And you would talk to the operator to get a connection. And you have the same cable thing that goes from one position of the grid to the other position of the grid. And there's every card in the deck has a relationship with all the rest of the cards. And that's
Yeah.
what makes it very interesting.
So this is like the phone cable grid, basically.
Yeah, this
That's what we're
is
looking
that
at.
grid of what you get connected to. And it gives you an opportunity to, through mind, know the name of Neptune. And through the understanding that this is a Neptune period for you, you get to have a better discernment of what Neptune energy feels like. So it really teaches you how to live in an energetic body when you apply the planetary grid to everything.
Mhm. Well, let's look at a couple other cards. Yeah, that 8 of clubs was definitely an interesting one, and I do wish I'd grab a couple more books on it, but that's okay. I still.
When you show the visual on this side, are you showing the visual on the other
Yeah,
side
yeah,
too?
yeah. They can see it.
Cool.
Exactly. So everyone can see along with what we're.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of sharing them.
Well, it's
along.
better than school.
So yeah, I think we read enough of what the 8 of clubs.
Yeah.
Basically, the test of the 8 of clubs is to be tested to see if you can use this power without hurting others.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
have so much power.
That's the edge
So-
that they may sometimes, before they integrate the love in their heart with their mind, they have an edge, and they're learning to do that. They're learning to trust without an edge.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so let's look at the next. Let's look at Liz here, and Liz has and message from Ricky. She says thank you. So Liz has September 28th. So the 28th is we just double the first month.
And would that be
again.
40?
So 18.
Maybe the 26th.
Well, we double the month, so 18, and then 18 plus 28. So 30 is actually 46.
46.
And so then we go 55 minus 46, and we get 9. So that's a 9 of hearts.
55 minus 46 is a 9 of hearts.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of my favorite
So,
people.
Yeah, 9 of hearts. So Liz is a 9 of hearts, and that is one of these semi-fixed cards.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that is a card that what is interesting is, I'll go back to this graphic here. You'll
And
see,
what is the planetary energy location for the Nine of Hearts? Show us on the grid for the mundane.
yeah, so on the mundane grid, which is the grid on the right side here, the life spread, we see it at the Saturn, Saturn. Then if we go up to Venus, Venus, we'll see that that's the Seven of Diamonds.
Yeah.
And those have a relationship to each other because as the semi-fixed cards, they are in each other's place on the spiritual and the life spread.
Every
So
other
if you look
year, they're in
Yeah.
Venus, Venus, or Saturn, Saturn. They don't go anyplace else in the whole grid except Venus, Venus, Saturn, Saturn. Refining love and power is what they are here to do. And particularly for the Nine of Hearts, they may have many goodbyes in their life. There's a completion of unfinished emotions that sometimes for instance, I went and traveled to Germany with the Nine of Hearts, and she was born during World War II. And her family had gotten lost from each other because of the war. And so Ulrika decided that what she wanted to do was go to Germany for 6 weeks and trace down her family. And I happened to be lucky enough to be part of the detective team. And so we went and we found relatives and we found clues and we found different places and people. She found a half sister that she didn't even know she had. And so it was her way to bring the family together and the energy of what was her lineage, and to be able to understand that her life was going a different place and be able to say goodbye to what she knew to be her root. And that's Nine of Hearts want to know the root of the matter. They want to trace the lineage in order to, and sometimes often say goodbye. There may be relationships that lasted for a wonderful time, but then parted simply because it was the Nine of Hearts is here to say goodbye emotionally. And they have to come to closure in life in order to move to the next, to the 10, which is another kind of experience for emotions.
Well, 10 has so much abundance, but you can't get to the abundance
until
you go through letting go of everything. And so that's why Nine of Hearts can even be like the divorce card if the Four of Hearts.
Yeah, and oftentimes when it's in your spread, there's a separation. Nine of Hearts and Five of Hearts. They end, something's going to change.
Here's what Camp says is that 8 represents the fullest expression of the suit it is found in. And that leads us to 9, which represents the dissolution of this power into a more universal state of being. To achieve a universal state, which in essence means a non-personal state, one must let go of personal concerns and interests. This letting go is usually unfamiliar territory for most people. Our society teaches us that the fulfillment we seek is found in getting things, not letting go of things. So when faced with the time of letting go, we are usually resentful and resistant to whatever's going on. So really, it's basically saying that the 9s are here to learn in this life, to have to go through things most people don't have to go through. I've heard 9 of Diamonds be called the yard sale card. I think that's what Robert Camp calls them, because with diamonds being about money and things like that, the 9 is about letting go. It's like
be careful with your money when you're around a 9 of Diamonds. They have some of the best stories in the best places that your money can be used. And you want to know who the 2 most famous 9 of Diamonds are?
Yeah.
That love to spend other people's money?
Who's that?
George Bush Jr. and Barack Obama.
Oh, really?
Did they ever love to spend other people's money?
Oh, that's so funny. Well, the 9s, but the 9s also,
they're shifty.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to
be careful.
I'm not going to generalize about any 9 of
No, with money, you be careful with the 9 of Diamonds period. 9 of
yeah.
Diamonds period can also indicate to have a better accounting for what your finances are.
Sure.
That, you know, it's just a warning.
Yeah, I've seen 9 of Diamonds, I mean, who have been wealthy beyond belief, but then it's kind of like, what do I do with all this money? It's like they get that what the 8 of Diamonds has naturally,
Yeah.
but now they're here to let go of it.
Well, and their highest expression is to fill their own lake, so they can be generous, to really follow through with the gratuitous and generosity that's part of that card. They can be incredible, generous people.
So this nine of hearts now that we're talking about, this is not necessarily about money and about material earth.
This is the
things.
same thing with
This
emotions.
is fire, yeah, and so this is the hot side of things. When faced with the time of letting go, we're usually resistant. Going on, he says, so what can happen is the nine can go. Is it possible to mute that, or it's not possible? I guess
What?
it's just. Oh no, it's okay. It keeps whistling the
Oh.
whistle, but it's okay if it's not possible to. But I know with my phone, I click it, it goes to mute.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, okay. Well, it is a fun one. Did you choose that sound? Is that a sound you've the kind of whistle sound, or did somebody?
Anything that doesn't disturb for more than a second.
Okay, I see. It's the smallest.
Fastest sound.
It's the fastest sound you can find.
And it transfers at a distance.
You can
Yeah.
hear it, yeah.
You know, if I put my phone down outside, I can
Okay.
find it.
Yeah. So it's nine is always seeking really. So nine is for our.
It's
best
the
interests. If
conclusion
you're-
of a 10 cycle.
Yeah.
It's number nine. Remember John Lennon and number 9 on the White Album? I mean, my goodness, what a great song. He
Yeah.
really exemplified the end of a cycle in a way that nobody had ever, put in a song before. And it's well worth listening to John Lennon sing number 9 on the Beatles'
Yeah.
White Album.
Liz says she does love spending other people's money. Well, we were joking about the nine of diamonds, but I just personally know a nine of diamonds who just has quite a lot of money, but and just kind of basically gives it to charity and gives it a lot away.
There's
Like
a
they
philanthropist.
buy something expensive and give it away.
That's
cheap
the
and
actual
things like
name
that.
of the card.
But that's the
The
diamonds. now.
philanthropist
But when
card.
we go to the nine of hearts, it's a little different because it also has the special relationship with the seven of diamonds.
Yeah.
And that's that it alternates with it every year. So the nine of hearts has
7 of diamonds, not 7 of hearts. Did you say 7 of diamonds?
Yeah, the seven of diamonds
Yeah,
alternates with
the 9 of hearts.
Right. So every single year, you're going to kind of go through. What you can actually see is that you're going to go through a Saturn year alternating with a Venus year.
Yep.
And you can kind of see that during your Saturn years, you may have had a very hard time, but it's because it's Saturn. It's disciplining and
It's simply refining.
it's refining. Exactly.
Saturn is
And
refinement.
then we go to these Venus years.
Yeah. And also Saturn is about becoming specific in what you're meaning rather than being general, broadcasting
Yeah.
perhaps a idea of what something is and people catch on. But Capricorns and Saturn people, they want something really accurately defined. Specific, and law. That's why law is based upon Saturn.
Mhm.
Because it has to be specific and refined to a use of language that is considerate and just for all situations. And so you have to be clear. And so Saturn is all about clarity.
Well, it's kind of
And
like
that's what
having that,
the
yeah.
7 of diamonds and the 9 of hearts develop clarity, because in the Saturn year, you're developing clarity, you're developing refinement. In a Venus year, you're experiencing more exhilarating beauty, and you see life from a different rose-colored pair of glasses.
I met someone actually who is this seven of diamonds, so the other side of it. I've done a lot of nine of hearts and seven of diamonds. But
Yeah,
in this case,
7 of diamonds are powerhouses.
well, but they kind of both they're so similar. It's hard to even differentiate. It's kind of
What,
like
9 of hearts? I guess both. That's true.
Well, because they both experience.
Yeah.
they're
No,
experiencing the
I would
two
have to say 9 of
poles.
hearts are pretty willpower. Have a lot of willpower.
They're just they're experiencing the two poles
Yeah.
of the same thing.
Yeah.
Should we just do a couple more and wrap up?
Yeah.
Are you feeling like
9 of hearts and 7 of diamonds are dynamos.
Are you feeling like you want to?
I gotta take a leak.
Okay. Well,
Drinking water.
let's take 5 minutes and then we will do the remaining for anyone who still has time.
I'm trying to drink a gallon a day.
Okay, drink your water,
And-
everyone.
And it goes through.
Okay. Well, come right back in a moment. And Casey says she loves Ray, so I think we all love Ray. So okay, let's just take 5 and we'll come right back momentarily and we'll do the rest of the body graphs. I'm gonna go look for the other one. So. Okay, so we're back and yeah, maybe just look at a couple more of these cards. So Nancy is February 7th.
What's that? 4 and
January
11.
seventh.
5 of
in
spades,
a couple days.
I think. Go ahead, Steve.
Is that 5 of spades?
Go ahead.
And happy almost birthday.
Yeah.
just
February
a couple
what?
days. February 7th.
February 7th. Yeah.
It's the
5
40,
of,
it's the 44, yeah.
5 of spades.
Yeah, so what can you tell us about the 5 of spades?
They're very fortunate people. When they're blessed to find the treasure, they have the mystic capacity to have seen this life in a previous life and laid aside a treasure that will make this life become very prosperous when they find their treasure. And so they're on a treasure hunt in a soul expression in order to find the gifts that they already have, but have placed in a previous time. And so they're often very talented people and entertainers. They are incredible singers. Many performing artists have been 5 of spades. So the singing is really a key code for them. And they usually find success, but they're very sensitive to a point. If things don't go their way, they have sometimes a hard time coming from the lower vibration. They need help, they need friends, they need love to pull them out because they're so sensitive to really a few self-defeating programs that they need to come face to face with in life.
Well, it seems that all of the odd numbers can be hard, and then spades can be hard too. And it's, of course, everything has its reward, but it's not like some equal, like certain, they kind of even say certain cards you don't even get to unlock until you've had a great many lives as the other cards.
That could be true.
They're later cards, and the spades are like that as a suit overall. The spades are kind of, to be able to incarnate as a spade, you sort of need a higher purchasing power of a higher karma or a higher license.
You need more wisdom.
Yeah, to be
or you need to be creating wisdom or have wisdom as a priority to guide you. You're not that interested in the material. You're not that interested in thought, and you're already have a good set of values. So the place that can go for a spade is giving up ego and finding how to serve.
Yeah.
And that's why it's a rugged place when you have to discontinue all self-reference.
I know 5 also, oftentimes they travel a lot. It's a very human card.
Oh,
5
yeah,
fingers, the 5
yeah. When it comes into your spread, it indicates a travel someplace. And it's very dreamy. You know, there's a Neptune quality to the 5 of spades that, I don't know, penetrates, that you feel it's very kinesthetic.
Kinesthetic's a good word for it. Yeah, movement oriented. I know Nancy does a lot of incredible different forms of artwork, and a lot of them incorporating movement. So, well, and then Monique is September 22nd. So
5 of spades. Are we done with that now?
Oh yeah, unless you have any other comments. I was just going to kind of finish up with it.
Okay.
Else that we have. So September 22nd. So that is again, we double
Libra.
the 9, so 18. And so that's 40.
Is that Virgo going to
So
Libra? Let me
that's,
see, what is that?
Well, it's the 15th. Yeah, it's on the cusp.
It's on Virgo Libra cusp.
But it's the Virgo side, I would
Yeah,
think. Do
yeah.
you identify as Virgo or Libra, Monique? Are you on the Virgo side?
Yeah. Hi. I'm a Virgo, but barely. It changed like the day I was born, like hours after.
Yeah.
So
you were right around.
I have a lot of Libra in my chart also. So I
Mercury
kind of
and
always,
Venus.
Yeah. You were right around. Oh no, we weren't going to go see. You're going to see Miyazaki.
I thought you guys were.
Well, we might go see it. Well, let's see if we can wrap up. Johnny, at least say hi online if you're going to come and interrupt our thing.
Oh, I'm actually on camera.
You're on
Yeah,
camera. It's over
there.
there. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, there, by the way. Lie too.
There's a Hayao Miyazaki movie which we could all go watch tonight. if we want, but it's just so cold out there and it's so nice and warm in here.
So cold, yeah, Jonas in his
Yeah,
vest.
the movie theater
Nice warm.
outside.
Queen of Hearts like a warm house.
We have just two Queen of Hearts in the warm home. We were talking
I knew a
about
Queen of Hearts
fire.
once. She kept the temperature of her house in the wintertime at 80.
Oh yeah. Well, cold thirst doesn't like that. But okay, well, let's just wrap up a little bit and enjoy the film.
So Five of Spades, what's the next one?
Next we actually have that is the 14th card. That will be the Ace of Clubs.
Oh yeah, Ace of Clubs.
Because let me make sure I got that right. So September 22nd. Do you know, is that your card, Monique? Have you looked into it?
I don't know. I have
Okay,
no
well, let me
idea.
just
This
make
is the
sure.
first time
So
I'm
9 times
knowing.
2.
September
It's
22nd,
the 15th
18.
card, 2 of Clubs, 15th card.
Um,
Because 18 and 22 is 40.
uh-huh.
55, you subtract that. So you
Yeah.
have 15. The
15.
15th card is the 2 of Clubs.
Yep.
So I do know some 2 of Clubs.
Uh-huh. And she's the 2 of Clubs?
Yeah.
Oh.
2 of Clubs have the
Mhm.
gift of gab. They're known as the conversationalist card.
They're also
And,
multi-dimensional.
Yeah, no, I've had some really great connections with 2 of Clubs.
They have access to other realms that they likely are psychic, or if you want to call it, I don't like that particular term, but they're vibrationally sensitive where they actually can penetrate dimensions. Probably the most famous 2 of Clubs on the planet is Mick Jagger.
Interesting. Interesting.
But they're peacemakers. They really don't have an axe to grind.
Yeah, the 2 of Clubs I know. So in the human design community, we have Kiara Christian, it's a 2 of Clubs, and also the other day when James we met Callie, so Callie is a 2 of Clubs.
Okay.
And then we just had another 2 of Clubs today. I was talking.
Other 2s are about partnerships. 2s
Yeah.
are about partnerships.
Oh, Tess is a 2 of Clubs, Mike's friend. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have like 3 of them.
Yeah, and everything about a 2 has an interest to, in some manner, create cooperation.
But I will say, of those 3 2 of Clubs that I know that are hovering in our circle, okay, so I notice what I notice is the 2 of Clubs very relational, very conversational. But for instance, like one 2 of Clubs friend having moved to Santa Fe some years ago, not necessarily in a relationship, very independent,
Uh-huh.
and the independent quality. Hey, if you guys please come on, don't be interrupting in the middle of this. We're trying to wrap up here. It's really hard to wrap up when people are randomly walking through the room.
The 2 of Clubs is also about
Yeah.
communication. Clear.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is
communication.
it's like they're single. They're not in
Yeah.
relationships. Like a 2 of
Yeah.
Hearts might be a little more like, oh, I need a relationship. Like 2 of Clubs I know are actually not in relationships. I mean, kind of just having just living their life, but loving conversations, loving texting, communicating. If you know Kiara Christian online through her Mystic Heretic Instagram, being a 2 of Clubs, she is always communicating and always writing these, 10 paragraph messages long, so much to say. I mean, great conversational. Knowing Tess also, who I mentioned that she's a writer for Pitchfork, and just a great, it's like the ability to articulate. and
Most
to
clubs
communicate.
have the ability to write.
Yeah, I guess
Clearly.
so. That's a club thing. It's using the mind in that
Yeah,
way as well.
and definition and
I know that Camp says 2s are the most beautiful card, the classic beauty, compared to 1. It's like 1 and 2 are kind of this.
their
polarity.
union.
And so 2 is classically beautiful, but then also he says fearful, that the 2s are the most fearful cards.
I would agree.
And so Clubs also having anxiety just in general around thought.
Well, they've
things,
been
idea
pushing things back and forth between
Yeah.
opposites, and if they think too much, those that don't think too much don't necessarily have that problem.
Okay, good. So you come to the right place doing human design. You have found the right system for you as a club. It can help with the overthinking. My mom's a 3 of Clubs, so I've seen a lot of the club thinking and how much thinking can happen, and just how smart they are too. Clubs are really, really smart. Comment from Casey: this year is supposed to be a great year for her according to this system, and so far it's been pretty great. Yeah. Anything you can share about that? Any reasons why, the like Venus Jupiter cards, or was it just your placement this year, like what you replaced?
What card is she?
Well, she's the three of diamonds.
Oh,
but then
the three of
but
oh,
for
Casey,
this
that's
particular
Casey.
year, that's Casey David.
Oh,
Yeah, just
what,
but for
go
this
to the
year.
spread, or do you have the spread
No,
for her
but,
age
well,
or
but we were
not?
just saying, no, I don't have all those handy.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's okay. We could save that for a different time, but it would
Yeah.
be fun to do the age-based spreads. Ricky comments that she wonders if this is related to Arabic lots and the parts of fortune and spirit. And for some reason, she thinks Ray is too young to remember this. You know Arabic lots and parts of fortune.
I know
that was
parts of
got to be a
fortune.
joke because
And it's all
young to-
calculated points.
Ray has
on-
been around since.
on
No,
the
no,
zodiac.
no, no. Too young. That was 15 minutes apart. Too young to remember the telephone lines, Ray. Being
The
plugged in.
telephone lines.
I don't believe you. How
What?
old are you? How old are you?
Oh, he's talking about the phones where
He was yeah.
The operator plug in.
He said when he grew
one
up.
line.
Yeah, like how, like that's what I was talking about with that comment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the compliment.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's pretty good. All right, well, some wonderful comments there, and Monique says it lands for her, and thanks so much. So yeah, let's wrap up because we've gone on for quite a bit, but really fun stuff, and I really enjoyed having you on, Ray. Enjoyed having you
Sure,
on
it's fun.
here.
Hi, everybody, and come to Santa Fe and enjoy yourself for any human design event. And then you'll find a wonderful community here of people that
Oh,
take
yeah.
good care of you.
Oh yeah, well, most of the folks, but yeah, everyone should come here. That'd be wonderful. And stay at Ray's Airbnb. He has a great B&B.
I have a bed and breakfast.
B&B Country Gardens. Okay, looks like
That's
the
the one.
batteries.
Is that
Hey.
there was events there, right?
Yeah,
Were there,
yeah, we had events at HDC, and we're gonna do it again this year for sure.
no, I mean, no, I mean
Something-
events
something
at
will
Ray's
happen.
Garden. That's all I meant. I didn't get to meet Ray when I was there. So
Well, the pleasure shall be mine soon.
yes,
Again.
I'll be back.
Okay.
Ray, is
Yes.
your place booked for the human design thing? Because I think I want to book your Airbnb during the.
18th already.
I don't
Do you
know.
like that far in advance.
I
We should
don't
check.
know.
We'll have to
Well,
get back
hang
to
on
that.
a second.
Yeah.
What
This,
is-
Book me.
if the battery stops, just let me. Just,
September 18th?
Yeah, just know.
Yeah, we're
if-
hoping to get a whole human, is that when the human design thing is?
Yeah, exactly.
We're hoping to get
Okay,
a
I'll
whole
text you.
human
We'll book
design
it. Okay.
house there, at the time. September 18th?
Yep.
Well, it's too hard to look up on the phone
Yeah,
because I
so
can't
we'll
see them
follow up
all.
on that, but it's been.
Is that Casey that's
Yeah,
asking?
yeah.
Yes, I want to book it. Book me. I'll text you. Okay.
Okay, I'll put you guys. in.
Okay.
Okay, it was really fun.
Bye.
Thanks for having. Thanks everybody. All right,
Okay, sounds
later.
good.
Ciao.